You have our mute button on. Audio mute. Guys, can you hear us now? So sorry, we had some technical difficulties on our end. So thanks for hanging out and standing by.
Really appreciate it.
We're going to go ahead and get started before we have more technical difficulties. Guys, thanks for showing up to the Recover Out Loud meeting every Tuesday. We really appreciate it. Without you guys, we wouldn't have any of this going on.
No.
I like to remind everybody that Recover Out Loud is a movement, not a program. So continue doing what you do on a daily basis to stay sober.
Yeah.
This is just the icing on the cake, that corner piece, that little bit of extra that you get. You know, we come together, you know, to share our experience, strength, and hope with each other and help each other. But the true work is the inner work. You know, and that's where the healing begins. Also, the last reminder that I want to remind you guys, because it's important to me, the reason why the Hopeaholics podcast even exists is because on 9/11 of 2022, I lost my son-in-law to the fentanyl crisis. And that's when we all decided we were going to join this movement of recovering out loud and, you know, trying to make a difference in this crisis, man. 300 people are dying every single day.
Leading cause of death for 18 to 45-year-olds.
Which is literally unacceptable.
Over 100,000 a year.
That a drug is the leading cause of death.
Yeah. Crazy cars.
Anyways, and that's why we do what we do. So without further ado, I'm going to let Shane introduce
Oh, really?
guest.
You forgot her name already.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable, bro. It's unbelievable. He forgot Shane and Shayla.
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 All right, I'll introduce her.
Okay, go.
It's fine. I've got this covered now.
Thanks, buddy.
Shayla, you're up.
Hello. Hello, my name is Shayla. I have a sobriety date of March 28th of 2016. And I never, ever thought that I was going to get sober. I thought that I was going to die from opiates. When I was getting high, fentanyl wasn't really a thing. But yeah, I started drinking at a pretty young age. I think my mom was on here, so sorry, Mom. But I had my first real drink, I think, when I was like 13. And I finally had that moment of like, okay, this feels good, you know? And I suffer from the disease of alcoholism, and I didn't really know when I was younger that was a thing, you know? And I once I had my first drink, I just felt like everything was going to be okay. And as I kept progressing and as I was getting older, I started using other substances, and I was not doing well in school. I kind of just quit going to school and just pretty much wanted to drink and get high all the time. And when I was probably like 16 or 17 is when I got into opiates and I started using pills. And I know for a lot of people in America, everyone's addiction started with prescription pills, and then obviously it progressed to heroin, fentanyl, and all of that. I never really believed that I had a problem. Obviously my mom did. But I just had to get my own experience, you know. And when I was 18, I got my first DUI, and I had a suspended license. So that started my whole justice system tour. I went to treatment for the first time when I was 18 as well. And still at that point, I did not think that I had a problem with using. I thought it was just kind of people, places, and things. Like I was in the wrong place at the wrong time. And like I didn't have a problem. And that went on for a very long time. Once I got arrested for the first time, I just kept going back to jail. I still didn't really think that I had a problem. And I went to treatment. It was a 21-day program. I got kicked out after 18 days because I thought boys were more important than saving my own life. And when I was 19, I went to another treatment center. And this one was kind of gnarly. I was there for 13 months. It was a behavioral modification treatment center. And I was court ordered to be there. I had gotten in trouble for some other stuff too in between all of that. So I was court ordered to be in treatment. I was there for 13 months. And oh God, it was so gnarly. They would like yell at us all the time. And we had what was called learning experiences. And like, they basically thought that like our behaviors were our problem. And so if we could just fix our behaviors, then we would stop being addicts, I guess. I don't really know. But during that time is when I got introduced to AA and NA and going to meetings. And I just kind of used that as an excuse to get out of the house. And so I would go to meetings, I would get all cute and just think that like maybe I would just stay sober by going to all these meetings. And obviously that didn't happen. I did get about 2 years of sobriety. And at that point, before I went to treatment, I started using methamphetamine as well. And so when I got out of treatment, I was like 21. And I'm like, okay, meth and heroin is my problem, but like I can drink normally. So then I started drinking every weekend and spending my entire paycheck on alcohol and cocaine and just kind of whatever I could get. And at that point, I still considered myself like pretty sober, even though I was drinking every weekend. And then when I was about 22 years old, I met my ex, and I was 22, he was 34. He had just gotten out of federal prison. He had 6 children, and I'm like, you are the fucking love of my life.
Wow.
And so obviously that did not go well. But I did try. I was also on probation. And so throughout this whole process, I would like try to kind of get sober. But at some point I started using pills again, and I just felt very hopeless that like I wasn't ever going to be able to get sober. And I would try to use Suboxone here and there to like get me off of the pills or whatever it was. And none of that worked because like I kept looking at outside things to fix my problem, but like it was an internal problem and I was not connected to anything, to any higher power. And I don't know, him and I ended up breaking up. It got kind of abusive, and I then was just like, I just went off the rails. And like it talks about in the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous, like we are maladjusted to life. And like when him and I broke up, my solution was to then go use heroin and like go live in nasty motel rooms for however long. The entire time my mom is just like worried about where I am, if I'm dead in a ditch, if I am in jail, if I'm in the hospital. And I was never able to take accountability for anything that I was ever doing. And I, again, just thought that like I was in the wrong place at the wrong time or whatever it was. And this entire time I was also in and out of jail. And it was just such a miserable existence. And I would kind of try to get sober, and like I would go to jail, and I would, when I'm in jail, I'm like, I'm never going to get high again. Like I am never going to get high again. And then as soon as I'm out, I'm high. And it's so crazy because like all of those times that I was in jail and I would tell myself like I'm not going to use again. Like if you would have given me a lie detector test, I would have passed it because I thought with every fiber of my being that I was going to stay sober this time. And that just was never the case. I would still go to meetings here and there, but I never wanted to work the steps. I never wanted to get a sponsor. So like me doing the same thing that I always did, like kept getting me the same results, And I finally one day, I always smoked heroin. I never shot it. But one day I did, and I ended up overdosing and dying. And like I was in the hospital, obviously I was brought back to life, and I was in the hospital, and I remember my mom and my dad sitting in there, and like all I could think about was getting high again. And my mom was like, what the fuck is wrong with you? Like you literally just died from using. But it was such a powerful thing, like being controlled by those substances. And I just could not wait to get out of there so I could get high again. And like, I just didn't want to feel any of the feelings that I was feeling. Like, that was the baseline of it all. Like, I just don't want to feel the way that I'm feeling. And I obviously ended up getting high after that some more. And finally one day I had been up for probably 4 or 5 days, and I got out of the shower and I looked at the mirror and I could not recognize who I was anymore. And like, to me, looking back on that moment, that was like my first spiritual experience of being like, okay, I want to get better. And that was like when I truly knew that I was powerless over everything that I was doing. And I never ever wanted to admit that before, but I'm so grateful that I had that moment. And I like reached out to my mom within the next few days, and I'm like, okay, I'm ready to get help, you know? And she'd been asking me over and over and over again to get sober, but I wasn't ready until I was ready. Like, court wasn't going to keep me sober. Like, my mom, her begging me wasn't going to keep me sober. A job, a guy, like, nothing was going to work until I was ready myself. And one of my friends, I'm from a little bit north of Seattle originally. I'm Native American, so I grew up on a reservation. And this girl that I had known for years, her and I got high together, got sober together. She was in Costa Mesa in treatment, and I'm just like, God, you look like you're having so much fun. Like, can I come to that treatment center? And we ended up setting it up. My mom did not want me to come to California because she just thought that I would like get loaded and just be running the streets of California. And I do not blame her for thinking that. But I came out here, and I knew that like I had that gift of desperation. And the treatment center that I went through, women would come be helpful and share their experience, strength, and hope every single day. And so that is what helped me, because I'm like, okay, all these women have the same experience as me, and now they have like multiple years of sobriety and they look like they're at peace. Like, I want what they have. And so I finally got a sponsor and started working the steps. And I never thought that like the steps would change my life. I had been going to meetings for so long, and I just didn't think that it was for me. Like, I thought that I was unique. I thought that I was special. I thought that like these 12 steps aren't going to help me. Like, I'm able to do it all on my own. And like, I have, you know, self-will, and clearly that wasn't working for me. I got high for a lot of years and tried to get sober on my own a lot of times, and like it never worked. And so when I went to that treatment center, I'm like, okay, I will work the steps. I will do what you tell me to do. And the first like 6 months of my sobriety, the women who I had sponsoring me were so gnarly, and like I was such a big book thumper the entire time, like my whole first year. But like, it took what it took for me to like get sober and understand the disease that I have. And I started sponsoring women when I had 6 months sober. And like, I truly think that that is what has saved my life, and it has saved me over and over again. When I got sober, I like had always had these dreams of going to school and like doing all of these things, but I was just never able to quite finish anything. And I had about 90 days sober. I got a little get well job. I worked at this tanning salon, and I started going to school to get certified as an alcohol and drug counselor. And I started working at the treatment center that I went through, and like having that experience was such a gift for me, because like this, obviously the treatment center helped, but like being able to give back to the people who had helped me, like my counselor and clinical director and all of that, like it just changed everything for me. So I did that my whole first year. My first year of sobriety, I didn't really have much of a social life, because I was just trying to like build back everything that I never really had anything to begin with. So I was trying to like build a life, and I was like so focused on my program, and I'm so thankful that I did that. Like, have a solid foundation of recovery. And I have worked in treatment ever since. My job is a little bit different now, but like being sober and being able to help people is like my purpose in life now. And I like never had a purpose before. I thought that I would just continue getting high for the rest of my life. And You had mentioned obviously people are losing their lives every single day to fentanyl, and I think I had around 4 or 5 years. My best friend Belle, she found her boyfriend overdosed in the apartment that we lived in, and that was like one of the most traumatic things that either of us have been through. And I had to, he was one of my very good friends, and I had to call his dad and tell him that he had passed away. And that was like such a gnarly experience for me. And like, I, I don't know, like it is, I know that we think that we're invincible when we're getting high. And like when I overdosed, all I wanted to do was continue getting high. But like, there are so many people here who care about you. Even if we don't even know you, we care about you. Like everybody who's on this Zoom right now, like I'm so happy you're here. But being able to have that experience, like his dad said something to me too when he came out here. He said that people die twice. Obviously, when you leave your physical body, and then the last time that someone says your name. And so anytime that I share my story, I always share about Eric because he was just such a big part of my sobriety. And like, he was the most lovable, beautiful human being. He was so funny. And so I always just share about him and his family having to lose him, you know? But throughout sobriety, like obviously we get such beautiful lives, but like life still happens. And I had to go through that, losing Eric. I've lost a ton of other people too. But last year too was just like a whirlwind for me. I was engaged and I found out that he was, you know, cheating on me. And that was like one of the most brutal things that I could have ever gone through as well. But like what this program has shown me is just like where my feet are supposed to go. So like I found out on a Wednesday, and like that night my sponsee was taking a year at our home group. And so that's where I was that night, you know, like just because all of this outside stuff is happening doesn't mean that my program falls to the side. And I would not have been able to make it through last year without my sponsees and without my sponsor. I think she's also on this meeting too. But I just never thought that like I would have the support that I do now. And I lived so long just isolated, and like I was too ashamed to like see anybody or do anything. And so like having the life that I have today, I'm just so grateful for it. And I'm so grateful that I'm able to help other people too, you know, because like I obviously treatment brought me to the rooms, but like I know that that's not the case for everybody. Like my sponsor didn't go to treatment and she ended up in the rooms. And no matter how you get sober, just get sober, you know. When I was in school to get my KDAC, I learned all about harm reduction and like all of that stuff. And I'm just like, I just don't want anybody to die anymore. Like these deaths are so preventable. And I hope that like my story helps somebody today. I do have like around 8.5 years, and like I still do the same things that I did in my first year of sobriety. And obviously things get easier, but like life still happens, like I said. But now today I have the tools to be able to handle the things that go on. And I also, I know there was a guy in here, I think this was his first time here. Welcome. I love that you guys asked me to speak on this. I'm so grateful. But yeah, I don't know. Like I'm just so grateful. Like I do a little gratitude list every day still. And like I send it to my mom and all of my sponsorship family. And like Wednesday nights, I'm in the same place every single week unless I'm out of town for work. And I don't know, like we can have such beautiful lives if we just stop fighting so much. And that's all I did for years was just fight and fight and fight and fight. And life is so much easier when I just surrender and like give it up to my higher power. But yeah, I think that's it. So thank you guys so much for asking me to speak.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
It takes a village, bro. And she built her village. It's not a matter like when you're a kid, they say that thing, it takes a village, and it's your responsibility as a parent to guard that child and do stuff. When you're older and you're fucked up somehow, it's on you to build the village.
Yep.
And that's what you did. You built your village, and now people are taking care of you on the outside.
Yep.
It's fucking beautiful. Yeah, good for you.
Thank you.
Good for you. Nice.
You said so much good stuff.
Yeah, really
And
did.
you know, and God bless you. And the program works, man. And you know, I love the 12-step program.
I thought you were going to say you're living proof.
She is living proof.
No, I thought you were going to say you were living
Oh,
proof.
I'm not. But she's living proof.
Yeah,
that
she
the
is.
program works.
100%.
You know, and life does happen, man. And life shows
Yeah.
up. Just because we get clean and sober doesn't mean that life is going to be all sunshine and rainbows every single day. I mean, stuff happens.
Yep.
But we have tools today to get through that stuff. But what the program has taught me and what recovery has taught me is like how to just feel my feelings. Like we don't have to put negative or positive connotations on feelings. A feeling is just a feeling.
Yep.
Yeah.
You know, and once you learn how to feel that feeling, it's okay.
Yeah, and it'll pass.
And it'll pass.
Yeah.
I didn't know how I would be affected if, you know, one of my close family members, my son-in-law, Justin, and thank you for saying that if you continue to say their name, that, you know, they will live on until their name isn't said. Well, this podcast is because of his name, because of Justin. And I'm hoping that it'll live on forever, so that his death won't be in vain, and that people will know that, you know, recovery is possible. But I'm not even sure what I was saying before that.
You know what? It's weird because I thought I had something really special to say. When you started talking, I totally fucking forgot.
Well,
too.
when I went on to the Justin thing,
that's what I'm
that
saying.
became the most important thing to
Yeah.
me because that truly is what's important. But
Mm-hmm.
what I was saying is the feelings are just feelings.
Yeah.
I didn't know how it would feel when Justin, when a family member, and I was thinking about it this morning because Shane and I and Natalie were actually going to Sacramento to talk at the Capitol building tomorrow in front of 4,000 people. And my topic is always what you just talked about. See, I have a why. I have a purpose now.
Yeah.
I found my purpose, you know, on December 14th of 2000. That was the day that my daughter was born. And this is the same daughter that found her fiance dead from fentanyl. So she's my why,
Yeah.
you know, for living. But Justin's my why for what I'm doing today. Justin's my why for what I'm going to be doing tomorrow, because it's not normal for me to get up in front of a crowd of 4,000 people and speak. Like I would have ditched that day if I were, you know, back in the old day. But I want his legacy to live on. I want people to know that you too can recover and that life becomes beautiful. But yeah, feelings are just feelings, man, and they come and go. And I've learned how to walk through it. Sometimes I enjoy crying, thinking about him. Like I enjoy the fact that, like, wow, I get to feel the pain of his loss. And then there's other times when I'm in this podcast room and I know that he's in here, or he's come down and he's put his hand in the stuff that we're doing, and it's amazing.
Yeah.
You know, so we have to turn our pain into our purpose.
Yep.
And it makes the story beautiful. So thank you for coming in and sharing your beautiful story.
Thank you.
And congratulations on 8.5 years and walking through everything you've walked through and continuing to sponsor people and help people.
Yeah. It's my purpose now.
All right. Now it's time to open up. We got a couple hands. We're going to open up for sharing. You got, everybody has 3 minutes to share. You will hear a little ding, and then we'll give you about 15 seconds extra, and then we'll just hit the mute button. So, Rachel, you're up. Joel, thanks for being our clock dude. Appreciate you.
He said clock, dude.
I don't know what that equates to.
Oh,
in
come on. Yes, you
Canadian
do.
shit,
Yes,
but
you
it's just
do.
clock,
You,
dude, for us.
Yeah.
you know. You know, Rachel. Don't be shy with me.
Okay. We'll keep it to ourselves.
All right, fair enough.
Thanks, Shayla. That was a really good lead. I could relate to a lot of what you had to say. The one thing that stood out to me tonight was you talked about how we are invincible when we're using. And that has been resounding with me for a while now. Back last semester, one of the online tests that I took, I thought I was having a severe panic attack, said something to my diabetes doctor. She sent me to a cardiologist. And I found out last week I have a blockage in the artery that causes the widowmaker heart attack.
Oof.
And I don't think until I read that my chart that I've ever been scared to die. And like I mean, God kept me alive so many times. I OD'd and kept me alive. I almost died last year in a botched surgery and kept me alive. And I wasn't scared any of those times. But like you said, we have tools now. And my tool is rather than isolate